this is a big deal. It's not standardized. So this is something that I hope that the recent research and push in this field can really help omega-3 testing get standardized. So omega-3 status just means omega-3 levels in the body, but there are a bunch of different ways you could measure that. And you're not going to get the same answer across the board. So I'll just take at OmegaQuant, we measure the omega-3 index. And the omega-3 index was invented by my dad, Bill Harris, and Clemens von Schacke, who's a cardiologist in Germany. And it was looking at a red blood cell membrane and seeing how much EPA and DHA is in that membrane. Because membranes, like cell membranes, are made up of fatty acids. And there's lots of different kinds of fatty acids in there. We measure 24 different kinds of fatty acids. And we'll take the EPA and DHA over the total and get a percent. So they found for heart disease that having a 4% omega-3 index was a much higher risk than having an 8% omega-3 index. For really sudden cardiac death was the main outcome originally. So 8% of your fatty acids in your red blood cells as EPA and DHA seems to be a really healthy target. But if we then, that 8% can't be applied to a plasma phospholipid level or a total plasma level of omega-3s. And a lot of different labs will measure plasma levels. And so their cut points are going to be coming from something else. And it's really confusing and it's a problem. If we don't get this standardized, we won't be able to use omega-3 testing broadly to actually help any of these conditions. And so for the pregnancy status, DHA levels, when we looked at it, we saw that women who had a DHA level, just DHA, of 5% in a red blood cell membrane were really at quite low risk of early preterm birth. So we tried to look at the literature to see what are the outcomes in pregnancy for early preterm birth as our outcome. And 5% kept showing up as the point where after that, if you get higher and higher levels, that preterm birth risk doesn't increase. It kind of, the risk line kind of flattens out. Doesn't mean that being higher than 5% DHA doesn't have other benefits. If you're at 5% DHA, you probably have at least an omega-3 index of 6. But having an omega-3 index of 8 is probably just even better for a lot of pregnant women. But we didn't have evidence that getting higher and higher was improving preterm birth outcomes. So we were just trying to keep focused on that outcome. But below 5%, once you start going to 4% and 3%, the risk for early preterm birth was just very steep, very dramatic. And so it was really interesting because we proposed this 5% target for DHA. And a couple of things really kind of came together around this number. One was that 200 or 300 milligrams of DHA a day is really the recommended dose for pregnancy, to have at least 200 extra of DHA, 300 including diet, at the very base level. And we found that amount of intake, which is equivalent to about 2 servings of fish a week, which is the current recommendation for pregnant women in fish intake. That level is, it's about equivalent to 5%. So if you're eating fish twice a week, it's possible for you to be at 5%. Fish twice a week will not get you to an 8% omega-3 index. 8% omega-3 index is like a pescatarian diet or a 1 to 2 grams a day of fish oil. 5% DHA is 2 or 3 servings of fish a week or 300 milligrams of DHA a day.